Well, hello there and welcome to the bedroom of the dollhouse for another reading from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and Joost Elfers for December 20th, the day of the generator. That's right. And here at the top of the page is a visual representation of the day of the generator, if you like. Well, what is it? Well, it's an image of, boom, it's a symbol or what I'm guessing is like a spinning top there. Ones that the kids back in old-timey days might have been playing with. Or the ones you see in all those advertisements that you can't understand why somebody would buy one that spins forever. That's right. Is that an adequate representation of the day of the generator? Hey, who's to say? Generating sound or centrifugal force? Hey, maybe so, maybe so. But that being said, it's not altogether all too important. What is important is it's somebody's birthday today. And so me wishing you a happy birthday. That's right. That's what's important. So happy birthday. That being said, if this video finds you late, as sometimes happens, days, weeks, months, whatever the case may be, I just want to say I hope you had a happy birthday in that case. That being said, other folks like to drop in randomly or more ideally to celebrate. And if that's the case, I just want to say hello, welcome. And I hope you enjoy yourself. Now, before I get started with the redirect, something I like to do around these here parts, and that's roll some dice. That's right, this is the DykASSt birthday broadcast, so I like to live up to the namesake there by rolling some dice. But I do so more importantly for synchronicity's sake. That's right, and I rolled a 6 and a 1 for a 7. Now, what is synchronicity, you're probably wondering? Well, folks, it's often said when we get out into the world, well, and you get on with our errands or the things we need to get done, we're very singular focused. That's right, we have the blinders on. It's also been said, as I hear it, that the universe will put things down in our path to help us manifest our goals or aspirations. But if we got those blinders on, we might just be missing the things it's trying to get us to take note of. But even if we miss them, it's also been said the universe will put those things in our path somewhere else down the line to try to get us back on track. So this is an exercise in getting those blinders off. That's right. By tapping in with the universe with a sign that we're on the lookout for. That's right. Some numbers. Now, you don't have to go with the numbers I rolled for you, but it is advisable you take a set of dice. Something you can ascribe directional values and time limits to. That's right. Time limits with which to go in those directions. That being said, once you've established all those things, a place to start off from as well, you set off on your first time limit directional value. And here's the thing though, you gotta soak things up like a sponge. Get those blinders off because you never know what things might present. That's right, the day might start to take on a theme. To say maybe you're on your way in your first directional value and you start, I don't know, maybe you're seeing some kids out there spinning tops. You know what? You can't say you've ever seen such a thing, but hey, maybe they were there all along. All those orphans out there with those old-timey 19th century tops there in the string. Or they're kicking cans, who's to say, kicking rocks. But you know what? Just be on the lookout for things like that. That said, maybe you reach the end of your first time value and you haven't seen anything. Well, you know what? Maybe look at some street signs. Maybe you just happen to see that you're on old 7th Street. That's right. Hey, that's one of your numbers. What do you take from that? Just to say, hey, I'm on the right path. That's right. But hey, what happens? Maybe the number 7 bus rolls along, or maybe the number 61, but it blows right past you. Oh, hey, what's this? You know what? Roll your dice for another time value and go in that direction. That's right. That's a sign if ever I saw, at least in this particular circumstance. Find your time limit, maybe reach the end of that one, and then you're just not seeing anything. There's no orphans out there spinning tops anymore. I guess they only do that near the town center, who's to say? But you know what? Maybe you start seeing other things lining up for you. Maybe more, there's stickers on sides of transformers of the same thing. Mushrooms, say, who's to say? Or I don't know, maybe another bus comes by with an advertisement for those forever spinning tops. So there's somebody out there playing the drums. That's right. They got a cymbal even though they're playing on a bucket instead of a snare. Just start taking all that stuff in. But at this point, maybe you're still not seeing anything. You know what? Look for things that are anomalous. Maybe you see somebody out there in a hot pink shirt outside. Everybody else is just wearing beige. You see a beige. Well, there's that one person with the hot pink shirt. That's right. Roll yourself a time value. And that little bit of time that you've taken to figure out your time limit, It gives you a little bit of a breath of space there, so you can follow them and not get seen. That's right. We're not here to stalk, folks. But you know what? Let's say you do get spied following them. Hey, you know what? Just be open up front about what you're doing. You've got your dice on you. You can pull this video up on your phone and show them. And that, you know what? A lot of oftentimes, some other people that are out there, they just want to see some magic themselves. And you know what? This is the perfect opportunity to show it to them. You know what? They might be surprised that you're doing as much and that you were stalking them. I don't know. That's right. But you know what? Maybe they join you. That's the point here. Maybe they just join you because people, like I said, are open to seeing magic themselves. That being said, this is just an exercise in noticing the things that have been there all along. So I hope that happens for you. Get out there, see, taste, touch, feel, maybe even see a little bit of magic or hear as much if them people out there playing the drums. And you'll understand why I brought it up. That being said, I think you get the idea. Be on the lookout for your numbers and the things the universe might throw in your direction and see what you see. So let's get on with the read, shall we? Your month is December, your day is the 20th, your sign is 27 to 29 degrees Sagittarius of the Sagittarius Capricorn cusp period specifically, and your quality and element is mutable fire. All right, December 20th, the day of the generator. Those individuals born on December 20 do a great deal to generate thoughts, emotions, and heightened activity around them. Their desire, rather, is to initiate the great things, not overly concerned with maintenance or administration. They prefer to move on to their next task after they set things in motion. However, there is a continuity to their work, and thus they can build up an established reputation over time. And for December 20 people, the impulse to do something and the deed itself can happen in rapid succession. Indeed, once those born on this day have made up their minds about something, they are difficult to stop, primarily because they move so quickly. Speed, ingenuity, efficiency, and grace rate highly with them, so their output is likely to be prodigious. Prodigious, rather. There we go. Those December 20 people involved in intellectual pursuits can sometimes be accused of superficiality where their art studies or theories are concerned. And although it is clear that their method usually involves going at a subject for a number of different points of view many times, rather than just plumbing one essay to its depths. December 20 people are usually in good control of their psychic energy and are particularly drawn toward metaphysical types of experience. Oh, it sounds like somebody might be up for the dice there. Yet they are firmly grounded in the here and now and highly suspicious of unverified stories of otherworldly experiences or miracles. So maybe not. Okay, in the event, December 20 people are not ones to accept much on authority or from hearsay. They can be very combative in attacking what they feel are unsubstantiated claims, but also extremely aggressive in pushing their own ideas and points of view. Taking in the larger line, the broad picture is important for December 20 people. They enjoy philosophizing over things in general and are appreciative of receptive audiences. Influencing others in their thinking gives them pleasure, and therefore the role of parent or teacher is natural for them to assume. And because they are so often tireless workers, they tend to expect the same kind of energy output and effort from their children or students as well. They must be careful in this respect not to overlook individual differences or assume wrongly that the energy and concentrative powers of a given individual are up to their own. Actually, preconceived notions and expectations in general ultimately pose problems for December 20 people, as they can lead to unwanted strain and tension with those equally opinionated. And December 20 people have to temper their energies a bit in order to understand others better and should try not to be too fixated on producing. Sooner or later, they may wish to turn more of their energy inward and stand with themselves silently and powerfully. All right, how about that for a birthday breakdown? Somewhat narrow a focus, I would say, but within that, they went a variety of different areas and examined the broader line, if you like. Or was it the larger line? Who's to say? In any event, I like to provide a little bit of a commentary on what we just read, and get into some notes that I wrote more properly here. So let's get into it here. See what connections we can make with days previous and other items in the book. December 20th, the day of the generator. You're individuals who do a great deal to generate thoughts, emotions, and activity around you. And your drive is apparently to set things in motion without much regard for running what you've initiated. All right? At least once it's been started and gotten off its feet. But you're consistent in your efforts, and with that comes a reputation, the book said. So on its face, I'm left with the thought that you're the idea person in so many ways there. But maybe it's more than that, okay? You get the ball rolling, so you're more of an operations officer, more in a business-oriented kind of facet, or a sergeant in military terms. Perhaps a corporal, depending upon how go-getter you are there. But what throws me and makes this dynamic kind of hard to pin down is the moving on to the next task aspect. And that's if you move on to a different operation altogether over just getting it up on its feet, right? That said, you move quickly, like they said, efficiently, and your output is prodigious, said more properly this time, or impressively great, if you were to define that out. That said, you move, impressively great in force or extent, more properly. All right, I skipped the line here. Interestingly, the reading claims you have good control over your psychic energy with a draw towards metaphysical experiences. But there may exist a stark dichotomy there if you also have your feet firmly planted on the ground. Hopefully, it's just a nice balance between the here and now and the things kind of outside our grasp there. But essentially finding yourself highly suspicious of the very things that you're drawn to. So that's a kind of interesting thing to put in there. A little bit of confusion there, if you like. To which, assuming any and all of this applies, all right, I'm right there with you, okay? I can see where you're coming from here, if that applies. That said, we may differ in the idea of pushing our views, okay? Especially if you're one to push your ideas to the extent that you get combative, okay? Or aggressive to that end, which to some extent is a bit of a Sagittarius through line, as it turns out. And as the reading often advises, there's a live and let live dynamic that you should maybe try to put into effect, all right? At least for the folks born in this period, it keeps coming up. And I would like to point out, however, that you're said to take in the larger line, like they said, or the broad picture. And while that may not mean much to you because you heard it that way, this has come up previously, but the larger line wasn't defined. And me looking it up on the internet, I had no kind of clarity as to what it meant. So I'm glad that they expounded upon that and related what they meant by it. Because just saying the larger line, I mean, that's going to land on a few folks like myself with no idea what that means. So that being said, what else we have here? All told, like I said, it's a pretty well-rounded birthday breakdown, even though they didn't get into the kind of things that I would say make it well-rounded. To say like what you do as a parent, what your childhood was like, or sometimes the problems that you might face, and things to overcome as much. Sometimes they get all of that shoehorned in there somehow. Here they didn't do it so much, but you know what? That's just kind of how it goes sometimes. But that said, that's been the breakdown of what I had to say about it. So let's move on to your numbers and your planets. That's right, let's dive in, shall we? Those born on the 20th of the month are ruled by the number 2, as 2 plus 0 equals 2, and by the moon. And those ruled by the number 2 tend to be gentle and imaginative, easily hurt by criticism or the inattention of others. They may also take offense easily and have a low threshold for irritation. And those ruled by the moon are often impressionable, emotional, and prone to allowing their mental process to be colored by their feelings. And being born on the Sagittarius Capricorn cusp, December 20 people may well expect to have their opinions taken very seriously and can get quite upset when this is not the case. The influence of Jupiter, which is Sagittarius's ruler, and Saturn, the ruler of Capricorn, lends a philosophical and serious streak, respectively, to their thoughts. All right, this was a very personalized numbers and planets. You know what? That didn't happen very often. That being said, it was the cusp element there, so a lot of times they're gonna have to mix things up there, and they can't just copy paste it over. But I wouldn't put it past them on occasion. So what did I have to say about your numbers and planets? Let's get into it. The number 2 for what's typically ascribed to passive reflective energy that lends to being better co-workers and partners rather than leaders dynamic, which interestingly was not related here. And I say that because they do that so often. And I actually hate reading the moon days because some people probably savvy themselves leaders, but that particular dynamic says they make better partners or co-workers oftentimes. But here they didn't mention that for you. But I wanted to bring it up because that means to me that they personalize this for you. Let's see here. In those small parts seems to apply if you're the sort who drills down on initiating, all right? That leadership thing seems to come up in my mind. Also, if you enjoy reflective philosophizing that was mentioned. Because, hey, they're just drilling down on that there. A lot of times those things don't seem to match up. But here they kind of did. Instead, they drill down on being easily irritated and prone to having your process colored by your feelings, which I could also see being tied to this dynamic of expecting the same kind of tireless work from the people you work with, but that they don't necessarily have ingrained in themselves, right? And that could be a stressor of yours. So it might just go to show that maybe being a leadership type isn't for you, because you know what, you expect the kind of energy you put into it, and some other folks aren't capable of as much or aren't willing to do it. So you take the leadership out of it, hey, it's not as big of a deal now, right? So you might just make better coworkers in that regard. Who's to say? But further fuel for the case to avoid the stressors dynamic. And considering the 2 planets of conflicting influence here, very interesting that they kind of coupled things together the way they did. What else do we have here? Saturn is a constrictive planet and Jupiter expansive, so they're said to be in conflict there. This didn't get mentioned too terribly much here, but there were a few other days where it was a direct Saturn, direct Jupiter relationship there, and the conflicts were huge, all right? So they didn't drill down on this too much here. But yeah, I can't let it go by without mentioning that that might have an influence on you if you're the one to lend credence to the astrology there, the old Jupiter-Saturn conflict. So that might just be lending to a little bit of the frustrations you might experience in this life, like I said, if you lend credence to it. So that being said, it's interesting to put those things in there because now there's just an extra dynamic at work aside from the primary and co-rulership aspect. Any event, getting a little bit off path here with the numbers and planets, so let's move on to your tarot. All right, your tarot. The 20th card of the major arcana shows the judgment or awakening, in which people are urged to leave material considerations behind and seek a higher spirituality. The card depicting an angel blowing a trumpet signifies that a new day, a day of accountability, is dawning. And it is a card which suggests that we move beyond our ego and allow us to glimpse the infinite. And the dangers that the trumpet call heralds only exaltation and intoxication. At a loss of balance and indulgence, it revels involving the basest instincts there. Okay. The old, the judgment and awakening, all right? Total copy-paste job here. They didn't really inject anything specific to you there. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. And I would say it's kind of the trade-off if they highly personalize your numbers and planets. But let's see what I had to say here. Maybe we can make some connections for why not this card isn't apt for your breakdown. So like I said, it's kind of a copy-paste job here for the judgment, which urges leaving behind material considerations and the ego. in search of higher spirituality, all right? With warnings of loss of balance and indulgence in your baser instincts. Hard card to associate with your breakdown for me. Insofar as if what was related applies, you're already giving consideration to the higher concerns, right? Not just the material, but you're also grounded too. So you've got a foot in both camps. You already practice that balance that it warns you to have, or against losing any event. They also say to keep the larger line as a takeaway, the broader picture, right? Not letting the ego get the better of you with regard to others not meeting your measure, I would say, or emotionally colored stressors getting the better of you. And that's despite the card leaning heavily into the spiritual. So, I don't know, I saw a little bit of some apt playing there, but things that you're already doing if the breakdown holds true. So, maybe it's apt card, but I could also see maybe there might be another one in the deck that fits you better. Who's to say? But I can't think of what it might be. That being said, that's your tarot. Hopefully you took something from it. Like I said, it's kind of interesting to dive into the things that they present in the book, even though we may not lend much credence to it. That being said, let's move on to your health. See what else they have to say that we might not want to lend credence to, right? Those born on December 20 generally have strong opinions on health and medicine. All right, and they may feel that they can sense what is wrong with someone almost immediately and therefore know how to suggest the best remedy. Yet they had better pay attention to their own physical state first, and thus regular checkups with both dentist and doctor are advised. Far as diet is concerned, those born on this day can have many rules to justify what they eat. But after all, the bottom line is whether food tastes good, and it is to this end that they should, as cooks, direct more attention. All right, moderate exercise is indicated, but of a non-competitive nature. All right, somewhat interesting health aspect here today. I don't know, usually they'll drill down on the health of the site. You know what, I'm getting ahead of myself. Let's dive into the notes here. I probably say all this, all right? Strong opinions with health and medicine is said at the top there. So it's kind of an armchair doctor there, or a backseat doctor if you like, depending upon which one sounds better. So probably on account of having your own ideas and you're always ready to initiate. That's right, you're the generator, remember? But the reading suggests paying attention to yourself. All right, and if other Sags or Sagittarius folks rather are any example to take from with regard to health practices, this is great advice for you. All right, they aren't as strong in this area. A lot of times the hypochondriacs to say they're very over health conscious there. Most confusing diet advice I've come across yet, surprisingly. All right, tasting or food that tastes good as cooks should be your priority. I don't know. You got to ingest the right diet, right? But here they seem to be more concerned with whether you're a good cook. I don't know. Maybe they just were trying to relate something that they couldn't quite do so with this amount of space that they had. But that being said, I would say things that taste good or are prepared well, they generally have fresh ingredients, so maybe that's something to take into account. That being said, a lot of these days they tell you to avoid like the grains or to have an earthy based diet or something high in fiber, your bulk foods. They didn't mention any of that here. That's why it was a little bit suspicious to me to just drill down on being a better cook. That being said, as for the exercise is concerned, no idea why the non-competitive, unless you really do get affected by stressors there. But maybe you don't need that additional aspect there. Some of these folks who are ruled by Mars say they have like an aggressive or an angry nature, and so they recommend the likes of, say, combative sports and the like. So competitive for some particular reason, maybe you just need to get out there and have a little bit of a win-loss type ratio to feel fulfilled. Who's to say? That being said, they didn't put any psychological concerns in there for you. A lot of times there'll be a direct trade-off with the diet if they do so. But here it was pretty straightforward outside of being a little bit confusing. That being said, that's been your health. Hopefully I don't know, straighten it out a little bit there for you. Showed you what they do kind of do sometimes, why things may be of concern and such. That being said, let's move on to some advice. That's right, your advice. Don't always think you know where it's at. All right. Learn to admit your mistakes and stick to what you're doing and don't move on so fast. All right. Cultivate humanity. All right. Very sparse advice. Sometimes they might give you an extra little line, but I would say there's some value in there. Some things that we already might have touched on too. That being said, what I have to say here, don't always think you know, all right? They said where it's at. Not quite sure if you lost something, but don't always think you know, all right? Pretty straightforward. You may be wrong on occasion. That's right. It's also a bad look in the eyes of others if you're always drilling down on things and coming off like a know-it-all, right? I'm sure you've met those kinds of people before. You don't want to take after their example, I would say. That being said, admit mistakes, all right? We're all human. It's also a humbling thing to see somebody who's willing to admit they made a mistake or that they were wrong, all right? And it opens up avenues for solutions, which it sounds as though you should appreciate. Being the generator, the initiator, right? Especially in those early days of whatever system you're getting off the ground. You want those mistakes to be voiced so you're not starting from a place that's fatally flawed, all right? What else do we have here? Stick to what you're doing, okay? A little follow through goes a long way, I have to say here. Think of the larger line, okay? The bigger picture, going after the goal and not just the immediate play, for a little bit of a sports analogy there. Also, cultivate humanity, they said at the end there. It brings people in. It also fosters a better meeting of the minds, I would argue. Hence, hopefully, a better realized end product. That's right. Or at least a more endurable process of getting to the goal. That's right. You want to have a good time doing what you do, right? One might assume. All right. That's been your advice. So let's move on to your meditation. Oh, that's right. A meditation for you here. Okay. Are you ready? Let's take the energy down just a hair. Always leave a window open for the spirit to come in. All right. Not quite sure why they chose this one for you, but hey, let's hear it one more time here. Always leave a window open for the spirit to come in. All right. It's your birthday, your meditation. I'm not going to throw my spin or interpretation on you. On it for you. That's just for you. That being said, your meditation in the can. Let's move on to your strengths and weaknesses. That's right. Let's hold up the objective mirror and see where we're a benefit and maybe possibly a deficit. That's right. Okay, your strengths and weaknesses. Your strengths, you're quick, you're impulsive, and you're productive. Interesting. I would have thought impulsive would be a weakness. All right. But your weaknesses. All right. Let's hold up the objective mirror, but flip it to the side that blows up your face. Shows off all the things you might be insecure about, say. That's right. Your weaknesses. You're hasty, all-knowing. Oh, we knew that one, didn't we? All-knowing there. And combative. All right. Hey, nothing newsworthy there, all right? We probably knew all that stuff. With that being said, I like to say oftentimes our weaknesses can be strengths unto themselves. That's right. It just depends on the situation. That also being said, I like to relate the idea that if we do want to get rid of our weaknesses, or at least temper them back a little bit, because after all, they do make us who we are. We don't want to get rid of them lock, stock. We can use our strengths to kind of bring those things down if and we need to. That's right. You're quick, impulsive, and productive. I would say those things come together nicely to work on your weaknesses. That's right. Once again, hasty, all-knowing, and combative. We don't need to be combative, especially if we're hands off the project once it's on its feet, right? That's right. Let somebody else deal with it. Anyway, those are your strengths and weaknesses. Let's move on to those born on this day. And when we get into those born on this day, not only do we get to see who shares your company, but I like to take a moment to examine something I find important, and that is figuring out our passions. I don't know, too often I get out in the world and I meet folks and ask them what they do, more importantly, if they like it, and they don't. But I don't think you can blame people. There's just not enough time to put in the energy to focus on something like that a lot of times. And I would argue it takes time and energy to figure those things out. And maybe we know what our passions are, but hey, we just don't know how to make them financially viable. That takes time and effort too, to find out some kind of synthesis to put it out into the world, make it work for you. That being said, I think this is the perfect opportunity to not only see who shares your company, but to see what they did to get in the book, right? And maybe we can drum up some kind of inspiration for our own passions. But at the very least, maybe me putting the bug in your ear about it can help you do as much. That's right, because if there's anything I can wish for you on your birthday, it's that you're on your course to figuring out your passions, that you're doing backflips out of bed, eager to get on with your day and find something fulfilling in life. That's right, because if there's anything we need in life, it's something fulfilling to do. That's right, a purpose, if you like. That being said, let's get into it. We start off with Sidney Hook, a political philosopher with over 1,000 publications. We also have Bob Hayes, the U.S. Olympic gold medal winning 100-meter sprinter, an all-pro football wide receiver. We also have Robert van der Graaf, a nuclear physicist and inventor of the Van der Graaf generator. There we go, there's a generator. We also have Uri Geller, an Israeli psychic and telekinetic and paranormal. We also have Suzanne Langer, a philosopher, writer, and responsible for philosophy in a new key. We also have Mitsuko Uchida, a Japanese pianist and a Mozart specialist. We also have Tom Ferguson, a rodeo cowboy and a 6-time all-around champion, and the first to win the career $1 million. We also have Branch Rickey, a baseball player for the Brooklyn Dodgers and the Brooklyn Dodgers manager, and they brought Jackie Robinson into the major leagues as the first African-American player. 59 years in baseball, it says. We also have Tom Boardman Jr., the British science fiction publisher, editor, anthologist, and ABCs of fiction is what they're responsible for. We also have Max Lerner, the political scientist, writer, and responsible for ideas for the Ice Age. We also have Kiefer Sutherland, the actor, George Roy Hill, the stage and film director of Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid fame, as well as The Sting. It also says he was an actor, a fighter pilot, and a writer. We have John Hillerman, a TV and film actor, Kim Young-sam, a South Korean president, Hortense Kalisher, Hortense Kalisher, short story writer, novelist, and wrote The New Yorkers. We also have Peter Chryskula, the rock musician of Kiss fame. It says he vomits blood and has explosive effects there. I believe he was the drummer. That's right, the cat there. I didn't know he vomited blood, though. I thought that was a Gene Simmons thing. In any event, we have Jenny Agutter, a British actress and dancer, Irene Dunn, the film actress, Datuk Seri Mahathir bin Mohammed, all right, Malaysian Prime Minister, and Judy LaMarche, a Canadian government official. And I'm pretty sure I butchered a few names in there, so let's do some butcher on my side of things. Not done in malice, it's just hooked on phonics, doesn't work for me. Sometimes, hey, you know what? Admit our mistakes, right? I'm learning from your birthday read, that's right. That being said, those born on this day having been related, hopefully you took some inspiration in there somewhere. I saw at least one generator, maybe two, I don't know. But you know what? I know it's a big-ass tall order to take inspiration from other folks as example, but you know what? Like I said, maybe just putting the bug in your ear about as much, help you get them fires stirred to figure out your passions. And if you already got them figured out, how to get them more on their way. Down the road, right? For the bigger, larger line. That's right. That being said, that essentially rounds out your birthday read, except to say your season is fall, your sign once again is Sagittarius, of the Sagittarius Capricorn cusp, and your quality and elements is mutable fire. And what is that exactly? Well, that's a different video altogether. I'll leave a link for that at the end of the video if you're interested in finding out more and seeing what the channel looked like in its earlier days there. But this has been December 20th, the day of the generator, from The Secret Language of Birthdays by Gary Goldschneider and UST Elfers. I have an affiliate link for this book down in the description if you're interested in picking up your own copy. Save the hassle of typing it in a browser there. You know what? It supports the channel in the bargain too, which I appreciate. But that said, that's not altogether all too important here, the book. What is important, like I said at the top, wishing you a happy birthday. That's right. So once again, happy birthday, all right? And for everybody else that joined us randomly, hey, I hope you enjoyed yourself, found something interesting of note to be found in the day of the generator. But I also hope you join us for your birthday read. That's right. But lest I forget, your daily numbers. That's right. Get out there. Let the universe show you the magic that it has to be given out to you if you're open to seeing it. See, taste, touch, feel, maybe even smell or hear a little bit of the magic. That's right. Maybe you're just running into some people playing the drums or cymbal on a street corner, or some kids playing with the old timey tops. That's right. The forever spinning top type. That's right. In any event, once again, I just want to say happy birthday. All right. And take care of yourselves.